It's about time we talked about selenium sulfide, an underrated ingredient for tackling various skin problems caused by the yeast that lives on everyone's skin. Selenium sulfide might be prescribed to you by your dermatologist in a lotion. Alternatively, you can buy it in the store in a shampoo without a prescription, such as Selsun Blue shampoo. Selenium sulfide is very useful for treating a variety of skin disorders related to the yeast Malassezia. Now, Malassezia is part of our normal skin microbiome. It is supposed to be there. However, for some people, it can get too comfortable. They can get too much Malassezia. They develop irritation and inflammation as a result, and it can lead to specific skin problems. In the scalp, it notoriously causes dandruff. It leads to dandruff by generating an inflammatory, irritating response that messes up how the skin cells turn over. You get skin cells that turn over too quickly and kind of clump together, hence you get flake formation. There's also a condition that occurs on the face, the chest, the back, known as seborrheic dermatitis. This involves patches of red, scaly, flaky skin, often with a greasy appearing scale, most often in the forehead area, the eyebrows, the sides of the nose, around the ears, the upper chest, and the back. This condition comes and goes, just like dandruff comes and goes. In people who have a deeper skin tone, the patches of skin affected by seborrheic dermatitis can leave behind what's called post-inflammatory hypopigmentation. Basically, the inflammation takes away some of your background skin color. This isn't permanent, but as you can imagine, it is not desirable and people want to avoid that. Malassezia yeast also cause a condition known as Tinea versicolor, which people who live in humid tropical climates tend to deal with a lot more because Malassezia really loves oily, humid, moist conditions, sweaty conditions. This particular condition consists of little spots that are sort of brown to pink in color, can occur anywhere on the body, but most often where you have a lot of oil glands. There's an overlying kind of fine brandy-like scale, and this condition is hyperpigmented in some cases and then eventually will take away the background skin color, hypopigmented. While it can be cleared up with antifungals, for a lot of people, recurrences are the norm. Selenium sulfide can help tackle this condition. Malassezia yeast also can cause problems around our hair follicle, leading to a full-blown folliculitis called Malassezia folliculitis that looks an awful lot like acne. In fact, some people just call it fungal acne, but it's more appropriately referred to as Malassezia folliculitis. In contrast to true acne, Malassezia folliculitis has a characteristic monomorphic appearance, meaning every single little spot is more or less the same, looks the same. In contrast to true acne, with Malassezia folliculitis, there are no blackheads or whiteheads. Malassezia folliculitis is also notoriously itchy. The spots kind of come out all at once. In contrast to true acne, Malassezia folliculitis, well, it's a folliculitis related to Malassezia yeast, and it's treated with antifungals. Selenium sulfide can be an effective option for some cases. One of the main reasons why selenium sulfide is so effective in treating many of these conditions is that it basically kills that yeast and reduces the burden of yeast. It also has an effect on cell turnover in the epidermis and the cells lining the pores. It reduces adhesion between the corneocytes, reducing flake formation. So in effect, it kind of helps purge out some of the yeast. It helps to clear up, say, dandruff, Malassezia folliculitis, Tinea versicolor, seborrheic dermatitis by reducing the burden of that Malassezia yeast on the skin, ultimately reducing the irritation, the inflammation, and the subsequent abnormal responses that the skin cells have in terms of their rate of proliferation and accumulation. So you get a reduction in scaliness and flake formation, as well as just overall improvement and clearance of the rashes. Up until this point, I primarily focused on how this ingredient is effective for treating conditions related to Malassezia yeast, but it also ends up being helpful for a few other non-Malassezia related conditions. Have you ever heard of ringworm? Of course you have. Ringworm can occur in the scalp. It's not related to Malassezia yeast, but rather it is caused by a fungus known as a dermatophyte. We refer to this as a Tinea, T-I-N-E-A. Scalp ringworm is treated with antifungal medications. It's been shown, however, that when used alongside selenium sulfide shampoo, you get better results in terms of clearance. While selenium sulfide is antifungal, it may not completely eradicate the fungus that causes this, but it definitely plays a supporting role when used in conjunction with antifungals that are more specific for the fungus that causes ringworm, including ringworm of the scalp. It also can be helpful when used to areas of the body where you might be dealing with ringworm, provided, of course, you're using the standard of care antifungals to treat the fungal infection. Using selenium sulfide in your routine may help to clear it up up faster and reduce the risk of recurrences. Check out my video on how to get rid of ringworm because I give a lot of tips and tricks in that video, especially if you're someone who has dealt with recurrences or just really stubborn cases. Then there's this mystery skin condition. Mystery in that we know it when we see it, but what exactly causes it really is not that well defined. When we go looking, we find a few possible players, including Malassezia yeast, but it might also be caused by a little bacteria known as Tinea. What is this mystery condition I am speaking of? It has a complicated name because that's dermatology. We love to give things complicated names. The complicated name is confluent and reticulated papillomatosis, CARP. This is an eruption of hyperpigmented spots that are configured in a net-like distribution, often on the trunk, sometimes under the arms, the upper back, for example. What causes this? Again, we're not totally clear. It often recurs. The treatment to get rid of it is an oral antibiotic. Remember, antibiotics treat bacteria. It does appear as though there is a bacteria that plays a role in this, but there's also Malassezia yeast sneaking on in there. And a lot of patients with CARP do get good results using selenium sulfide shampoos or lotions to the body. That may be because of the effect that selenium sulfide has on reducing Malassezia yeast, which presumably are playing a role, as well as the effect that selenium sulfide has on reducing corneocyte adhesion, helping to essentially exfoliate some of this away and improve skin cell turnover, perhaps. Stay tuned at the end of the video. I'll explain how to use this ingredient. What are the side effects of using selenium sulfide? Skin dryness, irritation, and itch. Selenium sulfide in some cases may lead to scalp discoloration. This is not permanent, and the discoloration it causes, it's rare, and when it happens, not only is it not permanent, meaning it'll completely go away when you stop using the shampoo, but you can also take an isopropyl alcohol wipe and wipe away the discoloration. Rarely, selenium sulfide can discolor the hair. This is more of an issue if you have blonde hair, light colored hair, gray hair, and it can discolor it sort of this yellowish hue. Hair discoloration can be avoided by making sure you thoroughly rinse the shampoo out. I tell people to rinse it out for at least 5 minutes to make sure you get it all out of the scalp and the hair strands. Some people experience an increase in normal hair shedding when they first start using selenium sulfide shampoos. This is normal, especially if you have a lot of scalp buildup. It will essentially help to liberate some of those hairs that have been meaning to shed but are kind of stuck there. How do you use selenium sulfide shampoo to treat your scalp? First, wet the hair and the scalp in lukewarm water. Then take a modest amount of the shampoo, enough to distribute it across the scalp, but not too much that you have large handfuls. That's not necessary and only increases the risk of scalp irritation. Work it into a lather into the scalp. Don't take it down to your strands, just work it into the scalp. Then leave it in the scalp for about 2 to 3 minutes before rinsing it out. Spend a good 5 minutes thoroughly rinsing it out. Initially, try and use the shampoo twice a week for about 2 weeks. Thereafter, for the next 2 to 4 weeks, use it just once a week. That should be adequate to help clear up a dandruff flare. Moving forward, you'll need to resume it at the first sign that your dandruff is recurring. Unfortunately, this is not a cure for dandruff. There really is no cure for dandruff. It comes and goes, but this regimen can help get it under good control. That being said, this ingredient alone doesn't always work for everyone's dandruff. For some people, it simply does not work for their dandruff. For other people, it works, but it doesn't work that great, and they benefit from introducing another anti-dandruff shampoo and alternating it. Another anti-dandruff shampoo with a different ingredient like zinc pyrithione, ketoconazole. Check out my video on the best anti-dandruff shampoos. I talk about these more in depth there. All right, but that's the scalp. What about for the body? Say you have Tinea versicolor, say you have CARP, say you have Malassezia folliculitis. How do you go about using this in those areas? Well, if you've been prescribed a lotion, discuss with your dermatologist how they want you to use the lotion, but you can also use the shampoo to the body. And the way to do that is to get the area, of course, wet with lukewarm water, and then just lather it to the affected areas. Let that lather really sit on the skin for actually a full 10 minutes, and then rinse it off. Don't leave it on beyond that. Definitely make sure to rinse it off because it can be super drying and irritating. You're going to repeat this daily for 7 days. After 7 days, you're going to repeat it once a month as maintenance because unfortunately these conditions often recur. All right, guys, that's what I wanted to talk about with regards to selenium sulfide, an underrated ingredient for tackling conditions related to Malassezia yeast, as well as a few other conditions, namely CARP and ringworm. I hope this video was informative to you all. You learned something. On the inside, I'm going to put my recent video all about the best shampoos for scalp psoriasis, so check that one out next if you missed it. But if you guys liked this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and as always, don't forget, sunscreen and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye!